Video, I'm going to introduce you to numbers. There are different types of numbers in mathematics, such as numerals, counting numbers, natural numbers, integers, etc. So in this video, we are going to learn and be able to identify each type of numbers that we have. The first type of numbers that we have is numerals. Numerals are the numbers that you normally know, like 0, 1, 2, 3, and it continues. So basically, these are the numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, then it continues. These are called numerals. Another type of numbers that we have are called counting numbers. So counting numbers Now these numbers are very similar to that of numerals. The only difference is that they do not have a 0 in them. So when you are counting, you don't say 0, of course, 0, 1, 2. We start counting from 1. So counting numbers start from 1 instead of 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. The list continues. And the symbol that is used to represent counting numbers is the letter capital N with a plus sign up. This shows counting numbers. Now another type of numbers that we have is called natural numbers. Natural numbers are also known as numerals. I mean, they are the same. Natural numbers, let me even add that one here, maybe numerals or natural numbers, because they are the same. They start from 0, 1, 2, 3, and then the list continues. They are called natural numbers or numerals. So you might find in some books as numerals and some books as natural numbers. And the symbol that is used to represent natural numbers or numerals is the capital letter N without any plus sign on top of it. Okay? Counting numbers are represented by the capital letter N with a plus sign, as you can see here, while natural numbers or numerals are represented by the capital letter N. Now another type of number that we have is called integers. Now integers are whole numbers. Okay, they are whole numbers, but the difference is that, as you can see, with counting numbers we have numbers starting from 1 and then going above, while numerals and naturals have numbers from 0, 1, 2, 3 and continues. For integers, they are also whole numbers as these other type of numbers, but the difference is that they can be negative numbers or they can be positive numbers. So integers are numbers such as we don't know, this can be from negative infinity, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. And then the list continues. These are integers. And the symbol for integers is the capital letter Z. When you see the capital letter Z, it represents integers. Now, the third type of numbers that we are going to see is the negative numbers. I mean, by the name negative numbers, we can easily understand what they mean. Because when you see negative numbers, it means that all the numbers should be negative. So let's say negative numbers. Well, negative numbers are numbers that start from -1 and then it continues to negative infinity. There's no zero because we don't have something like -0. Then these are going to be numbers such as -1, -2, -3, -4, and then the list continues to negative infinity. The symbol that is used to represent negative numbers or negative integers, sorry, this should be negative integers instead of negative numbers. That will make more sense. Integers, because integers are whole numbers that can be positive or negative. So I told you earlier, integers can be negatives or positives. So we have two types of integers then, which are negative integers and positive integers. So negative integers are integers such as -1, -2, -3, etc. And we also have positive integers. We have positive integers. And these are numbers such as 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. The list continues. And by the way, I said integers have the symbol capital Z or capital Z, right? The negative integers are represented by the symbol capital Z with a negative sign on top. So this represents negative integers. So for positive integers, likewise, capital Z with a plus sign above. So this represents positive integers. Now, another type of numbers too that we have is rational numbers. So when we say rational numbers, what do we understand from rational numbers? Well, rational numbers are numbers that can be written in the form of A over B. Let me write this down. You say rational numbers. Sorry. There are numbers that can be written in the form of A over B. So what are the kind of numbers that we can write in the form of A over B? So it's like fractions that are rational fractions. For example, let me say e.g. example, you have 2 over 3, 1 over 2, 3 over 4, etc. So these are rational numbers. There are numbers that can be written in the form of A over B. Or we can also say that rational numbers are also numbers such as maybe 0.5. Well, can we write this 0.5, as a form of A over B? Of course it's possible, because we know 0.5 is the same as 1 over 2. So as we can see, this can be written in the form of A over B. So it's a rational number. There is another type of number that is called irrational numbers. So what are irrational numbers? Irrational numbers. Well, irrational numbers are numbers that cannot be written in the form of A over B. We say rational numbers can be written in the form of A over B. Then irrational numbers are numbers that cannot be written in the form of A over B. Then what are those numbers? Let's give some examples. Example of numbers are the square root of 2. Okay? We have the square root of 3. we have pi, the number pi. We also have the Euler's number e, etc. So these are the kind of numbers or some types of irrational numbers. Then why are they called irrational numbers? Let's give a clear example. For example, let's test the square root of 2. Now, if you punch the square root of 2 in a calculator, you will get 1.4142135, and then it continues because it is irrational. Remember, rational numbers such as 1 over 2 is just 0.5. It has an ending, 0.5. Or you can say 1 over 4, which is the same as 0.25. It's also rational. You see, it has an ending. It has like fine amber decimals. So we can easily write these into the form a over b. So they are rational numbers. But numbers such as the square root of 2, the square root of 3, pi, e, etc., these are irrational because we cannot express them in the form of a over b. Now, if I want to write 1.4142153, as you can see, I cannot even write all the numbers because the decimals continues. So it is not possible to represent this in the form of a over b. So that's why they are called irrational numbers. Now I'm out of space, and I have to clear this to continue. Another type of numbers that we have are called real numbers. Yes, real numbers. Then what are real numbers? Well, real numbers are all the numbers that you can think of, all the numbers. We talk about integers, right? Including the positive and the negative integers. We talk about rational numbers, irrational numbers. We talk about counting numbers, isn't it? We talk about numerals, or also called natural numbers, etc. All these fall under the category of real numbers. So we can say real numbers, it is represented as the capital R, something like the capital R with a slash here. So whenever you see this symbol, it is representing real numbers. Real numbers are numbers from negative infinity. Of course, negative infinity is not a number, of course, so that's why we have to use the open parentheses, not the closed ones, to positive infinity. So all these numbers are real numbers. So for example, what are these numbers? If we are to draw a number line, for example, to demonstrate what are real numbers, we said they start from negative infinity and they end at infinity. So any numbers that fall here, like obviously all numbers fall within here, all real numbers, of course. All the type of numbers we talk about in this video earlier, they all fall under this category that are real numbers. For example, minus 2. Let's say minus 2. Minus 2 fall under this category. Minus 1. Or negative 1. Sorry if I say negative 2, negative 1. Then you have 0. Okay? You have 1. Sorry, let me. Okay. You have 1. You have 2, 3, etc. But also irrational numbers. Remember, we said the square root of 2 is 1.4, and then it continues 1.4142, etc. So that obviously falls under here between 1 and 2, right? Then we can say the square root of 2 also fall here, which is also within real numbers, between negative infinity to positive infinity. When you talk about pi, what is pi? Well, most of you know what is pi. I mean, if you don't know what is the number pi, I can write it down here. Pi is also irrational. We cannot write all the numbers down. but we can write maybe the first few decimals of pi. Okay, the number pi is 3.142. This is rounded up, okay, because the number pi, as I said, is irrational, so therefore it continues, the values continues. So you got to understand that it is irrational. We cannot write all the numbers down. It's like 3.1415926, etc. It continues. So we just round it up to 3.142. So looking at this number, it falls under where? Between 3 and 4. If we write 4 here, then this number fall around here, isn't it? Then we can say pi also fall under this category, that is from negative infinity to positive infinity. Therefore, pi is also a real number. So in conclusion, we can say that all the numbers that we talk about so far are all real numbers. But now the question is, well, is everything real numbers? Obviously no. We have numbers that are not real numbers, and they are called imaginary numbers. But for this video, for the purpose of this video, we are not going to go into that. We are talking about real numbers here, but there are type of numbers that are called imaginary numbers. They are not real numbers. Then let's continue. We have another type of numbers that we call prime numbers. So prime numbers, what are prime numbers? Prime numbers, well, prime numbers are positive numbers bigger than 1, and which are only divisible by 1 and itself are called prime numbers. The number is bigger than 1 and it is only divisible by 1 and itself. Examples, we have 2. 2 is bigger than 1, obviously. It is divisible by 1. 2 divided by 1 is 2, okay, no remainder, or like no fractions, whatever. It is perfectly divisible by 1. And 2 is divisible by 2, isn't it? 2 divided by 2 is 1, right? The numbers that we have that are divisible by 2 are what? We said 1 and 2 itself. Another, there's no other number that we can divide by 2 perfectly, like without any remainder or decimals or whatsoever. It's only these two numbers, only these two, 1 and 2. So these are called prime numbers. Remember the definition of prime numbers? We said prime numbers are numbers that are bigger than 1, but also they are only divisible by 1 and then themselves. So the list continues. Prime numbers, we have 3. 3 also is only divisible by 1 and then itself. We have 5. 7 also fall under the same category, obviously. And then we have numbers such as 11, 13, 17, etc. So the list continues. These are called prime numbers because they are only divisible by 1 and themselves. Okay? Now, another type of numbers that we have are called even numbers and odd numbers. I have to clear some space here. Let's say even numbers and odd numbers. Well, what are even numbers? Even numbers. Even numbers are numbers that are perfectly divisible by 2. Numbers that you can divide by 2 without any remainder or any decimal points are called even numbers. So what are even numbers? Even numbers start from 2. Example, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, etc. 12, 14, 16. The list continues. These are called even numbers. Numbers that we can divide by 2 without any remainder. Now the last type of numbers that we are going to talk about in this video is odd numbers. Odd numbers. What are odd numbers? Well, odd numbers are numbers that are not perfectly divisible by 2. Remember, even numbers are divisible by 2 without any remainder, but odd numbers are numbers that they are numbers that when we divide them by 2, there's always a remainder. So they are not perfectly divisible by 2. Numbers such as what? We have 3 is among them. Okay, and even 1 is among the odd numbers that we know. We have 3. Okay, we have 5 is among them. Remember, 5 is also a prime number which we talked about earlier. So some numbers can fall under different categories of numbers, such as 5 is a prime number, is also an odd number. Okay, then we have 7, we have 9, we have 11, 13, etc. So these are odd numbers. As you can see, when we divide them by 2, there's always a remainder. Let's give an example. Let's say 3 divided by 2. Well, 2 into 3, how many times? 1 times, right? 1. And what is the remainder? When you divide 2 here, is 1 times remainder? 1. Well, can 2 goes into 1? No. Then we have to borrow. Sorry, we have to add a 0. But in order to be able to add a 0 here, we should put a decimal point here. Then 2 divided by 10 is 5. Then we have 1.5. So obviously this, as you can see, is not a whole number. It's not perfectly divisible by 2. So 3 is an odd number. And this is all for this video. Please, if you like this video, consider subscribing to my channel, like, comment, and share.